Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Maliki Young Pak that inside my chest, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I said that right. Felt like I was saying it wrong for some reason. Man, I appreciate everybody for stopping by and taking a look at my video. Thank you very much. So I do have the Wesley vs Sam Shankland game for you, and the thumbnail and this picture is actually of them playing right there. They're uploading the pictures pretty quickly, so yeah, I was able to grab one. Excuse me, man. Just got done eating, man. it was delicious. Anyways, so for all you guys out there, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. It is a U.S. champion versus former U.S. champion matchup for you guys. For all my people in the Philippines, I would say mabuhay to you. Kamusta na? Masaya kang makita kang muli. Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng aking video. Appreciate you guys very much. Ingat lagi mabuting pagbati. Magandang umaga, magandang araw, magandang hapon, magandang gabi if you watch this at night. Appreciate you guys very much for you coming by. If you guys are ready to go, we will see what's going on with this game. It's not too crazy long of a game. It's pretty nice. So like, you know, let me make sure my volume's right. Okay, super high. All right, we got D4, C6. C4, we got C6. Oh yeah, I meant to say for my guy Ronaldo. Yes, let me check somewhere quick. Make sure. Yes. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So for my guy Ronaldo, he was always saying that, you know, it was a Slav. Like, you know, at least it wasn't a Slav. Well, this one's a Slav. So we can't say that on this one. It's a Slav defense. So, like I said, you're going to love this one, man. So, knight comes to F3. We see knight to F6, E3. But we don't have all the complications in this one, though. You know, we don't have, like, a pawn take here with the bishop, with the pawn and the bishop and all that. We don't have all of that stuff. It's a pretty simple Slav position. Like I said, we have knight to F6, E3. Bishop comes to F5. We see knight to C3. So, it's all regular development. More kind of like a Queen's Gambit decline with the C6 type situation. We do have E6. Knight comes to H4 because we're going to harass this bishop. This bishop is not welcome on the board, so we're trying to get rid of it. So bishop comes to E4. We see F3. Bishop goes back to G6. Let me just tap that down a touch. Bam. There we go. Okay. Yeah, bishop goes to G6. We see queen to B3. This is a very common theme, like in the Grunfelds or Queen's Gambit declines or Slavs and stuff like that. You know, the bishop coming outside of this pawn chain is usually going to leave this bishop, pawn unprotected. So we're going to have to protect it some kind of way. So queen comes to C7. We see pawn takes D5, pawn takes D5. Bishop comes to D2. You know, we're pondering if we want to put a rook on C1, you know, put it opposite this queen. It never hurts. Let me unclick that. Knight comes to C6. We see castles by white. Looks a little bit risky, but, you know, this bishop is going to be going away, so fear not. We see A6. Knight takes G6, pawn takes G6, and we do see king to B1. Almost every time you castle as white, queen side, or even black is queen side, you always have to be considering king to B1 or king to B8 because it just puts your king in just a lot more of a safe position. So it's always good to consider that. Knight comes back to D7. We have a pretty close position, so I mean a little bit of subtle maneuvering is not too bad of a thing. We have rook over to C1. Bishop comes to E7. Did I not do that? Okay, I didn't put a guess the move. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out where I need to stop at. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna see. Bishop comes to D3. We see rook over to C8. Knight comes down to E2, and we're still in theory. Like none of this has been seen. Like none of this has never been seen. Like this has all been seen before. It's all pretty typical stuff. Now we have castles by black, and this is actually the novelty of the game. You know, and I mean, we're going to be seeing this H-pawn rolling. You know, pretty much you guys know that when you guys castle opposite sides, you know, black is going to be pushing their A and B pawns. White is going to be trying to push their G and H pawns. So we're going to see what's rolling. So we do see H4 by white. We got B5, H5, and then we have G5. You know, your goal as the opposite color when somebody's starting to attack you with their pawns and trying to rip the position open is to try to close it. So I mean, G5 is perfectly closing the position. We see king to A1. And it might look kind of strange because you're thinking like, I already moved the king out the way. Well, this is just a super duper safe move. And it is actually the best move in the position. So, I mean, this is definitely not bad. So, we see knight to b6, bishop down to b1. So, we're like definitely trying to preserve our bishops in this position. We see knight to c4, and then we see bishop back to e1. And these moves look a little bit weird, but, you know, it is getting the bishops out of danger. And we're going to be advancing the position a little bit. So bishop comes to f6. We see queen over to d3. Rook f comes to d8. We see b3. Knight comes to d6. Bishop comes to b4. And I now remember where I'm going to do the guess the move part. I already had it, but I just didn't mark it down. Anyway, bishop comes to b4. And this is a really nice move. And also, it is the best move in the position. So Wesley sold pretty much for the past few moves and going forward into a few moves. He's pretty much playing like the top moves with the computer suggestion. So it kind of turned into Stockfish for a second. We see king over to f8. And, you know, because we are having a situation where the bishop and the queen are, you know, both kind of trained on this square. So the bishop comes to c5. So it maintains the pin. And if I just back up here, you know, you might be thinking, okay, if I take here, you know, like you're going to take here, I'm going to take here, like I'm going to be able to get some material back going. No. That is not what we would do. If knight took b4 here, you unfortunately just dropped queen to h7 with check. And now the queen has been moved away from the attacked square. And it also has a tempo on the black's position in the king. So the king has to sidestep to f8. And you're going to be dropping the queen. So don't do that. But like I said, king came to f8. We saw bishop to c5. We saw e5. Trying to, you know... This is one of our pieces that we want to try to like open up. And, you know, the king is sitting on a dark square in the corner. So if we could try to get the position opened up, you know, maybe that bishop can, you know, kind of like come alive a little bit. So we do see knight to c3, just, you know, throwing a little tickle on this d5 pawn. We see knight back to e7, defending. Queen comes up to h7. You know, this queen is super close to this king, man. So, I mean, if I was Sam Shankland, I wouldn't be very comfortable with that. And he's not. So he goes king to e8. We see rook h to e1. King comes to d7. We see pawn takes e5. Bishop takes e5. And then I don't even think I would have seen this in the game, man, because it just kind of looks like you're just giving up a little bit. Like, I mean, you are kind of, you know, threatening the queen a little bit, but I don't know. It's the best move in the position, but I don't think I'd have got it. Bishop to d4. You know, like I said, I might would have just kind of maintained something and just kind of went back that way. But I mean, I probably would have ended up losing. So, you know, that's why I'm not 2,800. But anyways, bishop takes on d4. We see pawn takes d4. So this is very beneficial for white because we do have this file open now. And we are kind of attacking a couple of pawns over here. So queen comes to a5. We see king to b2 defending the knight. We see rook over to e8. And this move is actually kind of unfortunate because, I mean, like I said before, this pawn is hanging. And, I mean, it's just pretty much undefended. You really can't push it too successfully because you're going to be taken here and the knight's going to move. And you got some nice little discoveries going on. And then also, too, you know, you have knight takes here as well. So, actually, it's much better because, like, what you're trying to do with this rook, like, this rook can actually do. So, if you, like, clear this rook out of the way somewhere, you know, especially like rook to g8, like that's, you know, the best move in the position. It would allow this other rook to kind of swing over and fulfill the duty that one rook is doing. So the problem with rook to e8 is it is blocking this other rook from trying to come over because you don't really have, you want it on an open file, but you don't really have anything going on over here. I mean, everything is defended. So, I mean, rook over to g8 was going to just defend that pawn and just kind of hold your position. It's still completely lost for black, but, I mean, it's definitely much better. So, we actually see queen takes g7 in this position. And like I said, it's just a pawn. So, now we have a completely passed pawn that's pretty dangerous. Queen comes to b4. We see bishop to d3. And then we actually have the top move in the position for black. So, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find the #1 move for black. And this is actually what Sam Shankland found in the game. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find that. Okay, cool. So, I think it's not the easiest to see, but, you know, a lot of times when you're thinking about, you know, guessing the move, you're thinking of like a check or like a crazy sacrifice move. And as you guys can see, there aren't really any sacrifices to be made. Of course, you know, you can always take here. with the rook, but you're going to be taken back with this rook. And I mean, you just gave a piece away for nothing. So that's not what we want to do. So that is not the answer. The answer is actually knight to c4 with check. And this move is actually slightly annoying just simply because this queen is pinning this pawn down to the king. So you don't have the ability to take with the pawn. So you're going to have to take with the bishop or just move away. And moving away is possible, but I mean, you got a little bit of an attack going here as black. So, I mean, you know, you don't want to do that. So we actually do see bishop takes c4. We see pawn takes c4. But since the knight moved away from d6, now you're able to take a second pawn when queen takes f7. And you guys can see that, you know, black's position is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. You do have pawn takes b3. But you have queen to e6 with check, king comes to d8, and you actually have a3. Like, you're not obligated to take this pawn here. And it is actually much better to close the position and go a3 like I was saying before on the other side. So queen comes back to b8. You know, it gets really ugly really fast. Knight takes on d5, and you definitely don't want to take here because you're going to be looking at checkmate. So you have to try to come up with something creative. So what Sam Shankland actually does is he takes on c1 with the rook first, deflecting the rook over, but the position is still pretty dire even though you can't now take on e8. Knight comes back to g8, and you actually see queen takes a6. And it is actually in this position that Sam Shankland does resign the game. And it's one of those situations where, like, literally everything that the computer suggests in this position is just like throwing pieces away. Like, this king is so completely just open and stuck in the middle of the board. I mean, you have this check that's coming. You know, there's just really not a lot. I mean, you have this rook coming swinging up here. If you can successfully get this rook here and you check here, that's literally mating. So, I mean, it's just not a position that you can defend. Also, you have the ability to just swing back the queen here and, you know, block with the knight and just kind of take. And, you know, you're just improving your position. And you're just down way, way too many pawns. So, I'm going to show you, like, literally the top 3 moves from the computer right now. One is rook to e7. And, I mean, that's literally just throwing a rook away. You know, you're going to be checking down here. The king would be moving down here. The rook would be coming up here. Something like this. And that is just like completely deadly. You also actually have a rook to e5. And that's just a complete just throwaway of a piece. The reason they want to do that is because if you take here, the queen is going to take. But I mean, you just literally have the ability to do that. So that's not even doing anything. But it's just kind of giving you something. They also actually have rook to e2 at check, but as you guys will see here, you literally just take the rook for free. So that's not really doing anything either. So these are literally the computer's top 3 moves. So like I said, when you get in position where the computer says, hey, throw this piece away for nothing, you know, it's at this point that Sam Shankland realized that he met no. Man, these players are definitely strong. I mean, but, you know, against each other, you're going to kind of see some stuff come out. So I appreciate you guys very much. I need to get to sleep here right now. So I'm going to be posting this video. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Maraming salamat. Aking makaibigan. And I'll see you guys next time. Let me see. Makita tayo mamaya. Paalam to you guys. And I'll see you guys next time. All right.